Hello, friends. This is Akulmach Live, and I am Chandrakant. Working from home is a reality. Hybrid workforce is a reality. And all of these realities are causing a severe nightmare in terms of management for the leaders. They don't know how to manage them and what are the new skills required. We will discuss this very, very important subject today after a few disclaimers. Back, friends, and today we have a very special guest from Mumbai, and she is actually a very senior person in our industry. Her name is Aparna Ranadive. Today we will be discussing about how to remotely manage workforce. So without further ado, let me invite Aparna ji to the show.
Hi CK, good afternoon. How have you been?
Things are much better now. I think India is past the second wave, but I think we are waiting for the third wave to come.
Don't say that. Okay.
Well, I think I read the news that the Maharashtra will be the first one to get this third wave, and that is expected in next 2 to 3 weeks, and that is why the working from home will be very, very real, and it is becoming a normal thing. And that is why today's discussion is very important. How do we manage our work from remotely from our home office?
Right. So I think first and foremost, a warm welcome and thank you so much for inviting me to this show. The other thing is that I really hope and pray that the third wave does not hit us, and we're all kind of hoping and praying and waiting that the for the world to open up and for us to go back to offices or go back to where we used to before, working out of either Starbucks or a co-working space and what have you. But having said that, yes, the I will not talk about how to manage people remotely because that to each his own. I will talk about the challenges that are associated with managing people from or the work from home culture really. I think this is now, like they say, now is a cliched word called the new normal. It is indeed the new normal. We've seen one wave after another, after yet another wave coming in, and people are we were waiting to go out, and yet then we were told to stay back home, and then offices had, or rather the work had been geared up to manage only up to a certain time, and then again we were hoping that if the world had opened up and if we were allowed to get back to office, then we would have done something else and some things differently. But now that this has been the case for the last year and a half, and I think predominantly, and by now most of the people would have figured out how to do it, but yet there is the as a human resources professional, or as a behavioral science personality person, I would talk about the challenges that are associated, and there are these small niggling issues which a lot of people face today from the manager's side and from managers from the people's side. I think the fundamental premise is we've still not gotten used to not having people around us. So while all of us have started working from home, but we were still so used to assigning work or delegating work, and then every now and then popping over to somebody's room or popping over to somebody's workstation and trying to get a status report on what happened with that work. Now that is not possible. You can't always pick up the phone, you can't always be having a video call going on. So that is becoming so delegation in that sense is becoming a huge challenge, because the managers don't really know how much to let go and how much to hold on to. There is still that challenge, or the issue of distrust, that is my employee or is my team member whiling away time and not utilizing the entire 8 hours, or is not working on those entire 8 hours. But somehow I think the world is now moved to a point of figuring out, or rather working more on productivity rather than the number of hours being clocked in. So you're paying today the new norm is going to be that you're paying an employee or you're paying a compensation for the output delivered, for the productivity that is delivered, and not so much whether it is 8 hours, 10 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, whatever, right? So I think first and foremost, everybody needs to get used to this thing about productivity being the new currency and not the hours. That said, the fundamental premise on that of that is going to be trust. Now, unless and until you trust your people, and unless and until you kind of think that this person is out to really work, and to give him that kind of benefit of doubt, you will never be able to be at ease as a manager or as a leader, trying to manage people remotely. You yourself will constantly be on tenterhooks saying, is this guy really working or not working? I don't know because I'm not going. Now, you're not going to get a minute by minute status report. You're not going to get an hour by hour status report to say that, 9:30 to 10:30, this is what I did. 10:30 to 12:30, this is what I did. I went for a smoke break at 12:30. Then I went for a tea break at 2:30. This is not going to be the case, right? So the sooner we realize this, the sooner we get ourselves used to this, the better it is going to be. Now, that also then fundamentally brings us to another point in case, which is that for you to trust somebody or for you to trust your team member, you need to be able to respect that person, and believe the fundamental thing that everybody comes to work. Everybody is as inclined to perform as you as a manager are. Everybody has taken up a professional pursuit, has taken up a professional engagement in order to deliver the output that he's been assigned, right? Now, some may lag behind, maybe like a 5%, 10% here and a 5%, 10% there. But essentially, you need to respect the fact that this person is also a professional, and he or she has his professional ethics, and they will be there and they will deliver according to what is being asked of. So these two fundamental things, one is trust and the second is respect. Unless and until you have these in order, then everything else, then no matter how much of a pay package that you give, or how much incentive that you give, or how many promotions that you give, if these two fundamental elements are missing, then I think the entire purpose is all lost. And this is definitely going to be the new normal. So whether you're hiring, so how many people will you keep keeping a tab on? Will you keep a tab on 50 people, 100 people, 5,000 people? How many? You can't possibly do that. So the name of the game is trust. The name of the game is respect. The name of the game is to assign targets and look at productivity. What is the kind of productive output that you're getting at the end of the day? So these are things that I think, and I'm observing this over and over, because I have friends and people who are there in the corporate, or my ex-colleagues who are there in the corporate, and there are so many people who crib and cry, and they say that we've lost out on family life completely now. That whole thing about work-life balance and everything has just gone out of the window, because now it is only work, and it is work from home. We are 24/7 available, and the only thing that people have sort of made a hue and cry about and a noise about is the fact that while your Zoom window is on, suddenly you'll have a little head popping in, you have a kid popping in, or you have your wife, or your husband calling out from the other end, or then the cuckoo whistles, especially in India, the cuckoo whistles going off. But that is, Indian homes are small. We don't have the luxury of having a home office as a separate room. And especially with a husband and wife both working, or if you're living in a joint family, if 3-4 of you are working, then each one doesn't have a separate room to go into and do this. So again, so it brings me back to the point of sensitivity, where where you have to be more cognizant of the fact that there are families involved, there are people involved, and today, after a year and a half of being there and doing this, people have almost kind of come to a point where there is death by Zoom, literally. You've got so many video calls and so many conference calls and so many calls through the day that one is exhausted, and one will definitely be looking at something much better in terms of a culture, in terms of an organization, ethos to sort of be able to guarantee that.
Well, I think I picked up one of the keywords from your conversation, and that is the trust. And how do you build trust on a video platform? Trust usually is built between two individuals when they meet face to face couple of times, and then they start believing each other. Then they probably start doing business with each other. So, just meeting on a video platform in a 2D screen, I think that's a skill. In my opinion, that is a skill to build a relationship. From your point of view, how we can build the skill and manage these things that you talked about? Now we are exposed to personal life also coming on the screen, as you said. So how do we build that trust, which is very important to do any business, isn't it, Aparna ji?
Yeah. Right. So, like I said right at the beginning, that one needs to understand and believe that, and fundamentally and intrinsically believe that the other person is just as professional as you are. As a manager or as a leader that you are, and therefore, just as you are living up to your professional ethics, the other person also will be living up to their professional ethics, right? So just because a pet wanders in and wants to sit on the lap and wants to kind of seek attention, or just because a little child is wandering around and wants to have mummy's attention and wants to play around as well as so while mummy is working, I think that does not take away the fact that the person is still working. I can give an example of a BBC reporter's, a BBC reporter was shown taking an interview of a very senior political leader. And while she was interviewing that guy, her little daughter was playing in the background, and suddenly, all of a sudden, she just pops into the window and she starts talking to her mother, saying, "Who is this person?" And she's trying to shoo away the little girl and saying that, I'm in the middle of an interview. But the politician, in fact, turns around and says, "No, it's okay. If she's popping in, she wants to know who I am. I'll tell her who I am." So he named himself, and then he asked her name, and then they had a little bit of a conversation. So when she was happy that conversation was had, she went around her own way, and she picked up her dolls and she started playing again. And the mother got back to doing her interview. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can do that, but at the same time, the fact that he stopped, despite being a senior politician, if he stopped an interview of that kind, and if he was able to have a conversation with that little girl, putting her at ease and satisfying her curiosity, I think it did not take away his professionalism, nor did it take away the interviewer's professionalism. Of course, she was completely taken aback, and she was very, very short of saying embarrassed, but at the same time, he put her at ease and he put the child at ease as well. So I will really commend that person. I would really say that that person was sensitive enough to and to also have respected the individuality of the other person, of the interviewer, and the fact that she had a child at home and whom she was looking after. So trust is built when two individuals start understanding that the other person is there to do the right thing only. When will you not have trust? When you fundamentally believe that the other person is out to swindle you, or is out to take advantage of the liberties that you're giving as a leader, or you are you're being far too lenient and that person is being lackadaisical. That's when you start no trust. Now we have, unless and until there are people who have newly joined, but otherwise most of us have worked with each other before, right? Before coming on to this new normal, we've all worked with each other before, so we've all known each other face to face. We've all known each other, through various interactions that we've had. So therefore, suddenly one fine day, just because you start working from home, you don't really have distrust with the other person, right? So I think these are key things that one needs to keep in mind when one is delivering. And secondly, the other thing I like to highlight here is that gone are the days when leadership was about command and control. Even before this whole work from home started, even before that, nobody liked the whole culture of command and control as a method of leadership, right? Now everybody has come to a point, we've all grown up, we're all adults, and nobody likes to be constantly controlled and every 5 minutes asked, oh, have you been able to complete what I asked you? Did you do what I was told, what you were told to do, and so on and so forth. Now, if that is the case, you have to, in the new normal, the leadership fundamentals itself are going to change and turn on its head, because your leadership style is going to talk about, or going to be based on your sensitivity, your empathy. These are going to be the most desired leadership competencies. Your ability to get work done from a remote workforce. Yeah, your ability to show a vision to a remote workforce, your ability to get a followership. A leader is the one who has followers, right? So how will you get a followership of people who are remotely associated with you? How are you developing that trust, and how are you developing that kind of confidence that these people have with you? Now, and more so today in today's gig economy, like we call it, the gig economy is with people from across the globe. You have somebody sitting in Romania, somebody sitting in Moldova, somebody sitting in South Africa, somebody sitting in Hawaii, and kind of working with you, right? Now, and they're coming from different cultures, they're coming from different backgrounds. So this is one thing that, in fact, as a Mumbai head of Global Chamber, we were talking about. When all of us executive directors from across the globe, we had convened on a meet to discuss about various things. This was the one thing that we were talking about, that the other thing that one needs to understand is to be able to understand the culture of the other person. The cultural differences. The moment you understand cultural differences and how certain cultures bring you up and have conditioned you to say or not say certain things, that kind of a response to a certain issue or certain challenge or a certain question needs to be taken into account accordingly. Keeping that cultural bent in mind. For example, Indians we're not very direct people. We're mostly polite. We try and we don't know, or rather, we don't really say a no very easily. Even if we want to say a no, we kind of just sort of we beat around the bush a little bit and then come to the point. Most of us, not everybody, most of us. Likewise, there are certain cultures where people are absolutely stark and direct. They will say a no to your face and they will say a yes to your face, and a yes is a yes and a no is a no. So they will not mince any words, and that for an Indian then becomes like, it's like a root shock, because how can he say something like that to me, and vice versa. So the other person is not able to understand, how are you saying, how are you going around the bush and being so nice and polite? Are you really meaning what you're saying, or then there is something else which is there? So I think these cultural nuances are very important to take into account when you're managing a diverse workforce. Not so much for Indians, but for a diverse workforce as such. So I think these are small tidbits that I thought I could kind of bring to the fore, because I'm dealing in a diverse environment, and I deal with people from across the globe. I deal with people from India, and through various assignments that I'm doing, and each experience is different. And I thought it's not just me, but a whole lot of us who are experiencing this, and it only makes sense to kind of talk about it, because if it helps somebody, in that sense.
Absolutely, Aparnaji. I think the key takeaway for me today is that one, there is a new skill required, which is trust building on the video platform or on a 2D or 2G platform. Second is understanding how you can use global language. I think that is where the key is, that learning how to speak globally, so that you know exactly all the cultures. And that is true for everyone. It is not only India or UK or Americans. I think everybody has to get to one standard, so that there is a global level of etiquettes. The third one is solopreneurship, because you mentioned that earlier you could lead by showing lead by example, but that example is not visible now because you're working from home, and how you're going to show that. So I think the solopreneurship is a different skill altogether. You may have done something for last 3 decades, but this is something that you need to learn now, isn't it? I think these are the 3 takeaway from your conversation today.
Absolutely. And while I did speak about what leaders need to do, I also will talk about how what is it that the ones who are being led are to be how can they behave or not behave or say or not say certain things that will help to repose that trust and that respect. Now, for example, if there is a boss who's sitting maybe in the US or in the UK or somewhere internationally and is managing you remotely, then it is imperative for you to also be able to build that confidence in that person that you are actually delivering what you're supposed to be delivering. Now, in such cases, over communication always helps. It's as Indians, especially, we don't like to over communicate. We say that we'll do our job and that itself will speak for itself. A lot of us think like that. We don't like to constantly keep going back to the boss and keep saying that, oh, I did this and I did that, and we don't like to blow our own trumpet. But in such situations where there is a remote workforce being managed, then you as the one who's being managed, it is important for you to not constantly, but keep the boss regularly updated about what is really being done and what is not being done. Where are the challenges that you are facing? What are the things that you could do with help from the boss or from your colleagues? And then be able to collectively do that. So today, collaboration is definitely the name of the game. Working collectively together, even if it is remotely, and delivering what you're supposed to deliver is very crucial. Rather than sitting back and waiting for the boss to ask you and then for you to answer and say that, oh, I was facing these challenges and therefore I could not complete what I was supposed to have completed. The boss is invariably going to turn around and ask you, why didn't you ask for help when you needed that help? So no matter where under the sun the boss is sitting and where under the sun you are sitting as an individual, I think over communication definitely helps. Asking for help where required definitely helps. There's nothing wrong in seeking a sense of direction. There's nothing wrong in saying that I don't know this, therefore I will learn something new and be able to deliver. So I think constantly learning and constantly renewing your portfolio of knowledge is very, very essential in today's day and age, and it's only perhaps the only thing that will keep us alive and going for the next whatever number of decades that we have to still work and be around.
Aparna, is always a pleasure while talking to you, because you tell so many different things in a different perspective. It is a great learning. So it was pleasure, and thank you for finding time and coming over. We will catch up in the next episode with you next week.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure as always.